Welcome to Ascending Together, where we connect and reflect. I'm your co host Salmah, and with me is your co host Meriem. This is a dopamine you need while folding your laundry. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please make yourselves comfortable and join us.
Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum, Meriem. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam, Salma. Alhamdulillah. We're doing good. Shada.
Alhamdulillah.
So
Alhamdulillah.
we're almost there, inshallah.
Inshallah, I know we're in major Ramadan prep mode.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Feeling kind of intimidated, not gonna lie.
Yeah, but I'm happy that I'm aware of how many days for Ramadan.
Yes.
Because last year it just happened. And the year
I
before.
mean, we have a pretty good spiritual coach right now. She's pretty amazing. She's listening.
We can talk more about and tell the audience about it, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. Inshallah, we all ascend together. So, first week's episode, we talked about maqamik haythu aqamik and who we really are, who is Meriem and who is Salmah. And then last week we discussed when we booked our ticket to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, when did that shift? When did that light bulb happen? Like, hey, I'm taking this journey on. And today we're going to circle back to, okay, you booked your ticket, you got on a flight per se. What is the position that Allah assigned? So if you have some laundry, grab the basket and just get some dopamine from us so you can get your tasks done. We're keeping it raw this time. I am sitting next to my sleeping 1-year-old, so hopefully, inshallah, he doesn't wake up.
Inshallah. I have a 1-year-old too, and she's sleeping in the next room. So we'll see how long we can handle this. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, I wanted to share first about like the spiritual coaching that we were talking about. Mm-hmm. So this year, Salmah and we joined this program that it's called like Pre-Ramadan Challenge, which helps us practice our ibadah and like especially practice ihsan in our ibadah. And if there was something that we didn't do before, like praying duha or praying sunnah or reading adhkar, a naum, like sleeping adhkar, then you get to learn these new habits and then you get to start habit stacking. So by the time we get to Ramadan, we're not just like, oh my God, it's Ramadan, I need to maximize my good deeds, I'm just going to do all of it at once. And you end up either getting overwhelmed or burnt out and you give up completely in the middle, right? So alhamdulillah, we joined this program done by our dear friend. Her coaching program is called Soul Studies. So you can find her on Instagram. It's Soul Studies. I think Institute. Maybe we'll add her details in the description box, inshallah. Yeah, you can just message them. And she will tell you like what programs are available, if you can still do like the pre-Ramadan challenge. But alhamdulillah, it did a huge favor to me this year, right?
It did. Even like we're trying to complete a khatma before Ramadan starts, and it's like in the beginning you're like, there's no way I'm going to fit this into my schedule. It's just not possible. But subhanAllah, she taught us how to make it possible, and it puts so much more barakah in your time.
Yeah, and today I was so excited to pray duha. It's something that I always forget about. I'm like a morning person, and I love to be active in the morning. But so the idea of just stopping and going to pray duha doesn't occur to me. And when I started making the effort, I'm like, this is exactly what I needed. Like that moment to anchor myself, to make my wudu, clean myself up, and make that and just reset throughout the whole morning. Like, alhamdulillah, I did not know I needed this. I definitely need it.
SubhanAllah. When I started the challenge, I really added the sunnahs. But for some reason lately, every time I pray, my kids like to create disasters. Like this morning, one was trying to act like he's a doctor and he was sticking a long, like sharp tube down the other's ear.
Oh my God.
I'm like, I need this rak'ah to finish. Like I need these 2 rak'ahs to finish because I need to go save a life.
SubhanAllah.
So yeah.
I like a lot of moms share this, even myself. I
Mhm.
went through a phase when my second son would jump on my back every time I make sujood.
Mm.
So every time I make the intention to pray, I have to make sure there's no chair, no bed, no table next to me.
Yes, yes.
'Cause he was 2 years old and he would just jump on me. And it was hard. It was very hard.
That's your position, right? Like that subhanAllah, that just comes to
Yeah,
our topic perfectly that ibadah for us looks different now. Like that focus is different. Because
yeah,
you are naturally more tired. You don't have the rest, you don't have the like sometimes you don't have time to eat.
yeah,
So when it's time for salah, your brain is like, oh my god, like I don't want them jumping off of something. I need to finish because they're suddenly hungry. Like suddenly when you have to hold your mushaf or pray, everyone is either hungry
yeah.
or bored.
They ask for
Uh,
the attention. SubhanAllah.
yeah.
I heard recently in um, a, a woman of knowledge, I would say, she was
Mm,
saying that something that she learned
mm,
uh, that mothers have like a 20-year excuse because
mm,
in the first 10 years, like you're having kids, um, praying and tahajjud and a lot of things, they're gonna look different than later. And
yes.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows this. You
Yeah.
know, we just have to have pure intention, make dua to actually be able to do things. But our reward is not limited to just the sunnah that we do, but
Yes.
everything that we do for our kids is a reward as well, is rewarded as well, especially when we do it with ihsan and with positive niyyah, you know. And then when, that 20 years gone by and your kids are adults, then you get to catch up on all the
Yeah.
other, then you get to pass more, then you get to read more. And alhamdulillah, like our efforts doesn't go to
Mm.
waste.
You
They're
know, think
always
about it. Like Allah has given us the rukhsah to stop our fard and attend to our crying child,
correct. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, like
Yeah.
that's just the rahmah. That's just so beautiful when you think about it.
Yeah, I
Alhamdulillah.
think the wisdom behind it is hard for us to grasp,
Yes.
especially living in the West when we are surrounded with the media and everything that they don't pray,
Mm.
they don't do these things. So it feels like life is just surrounding the child,
Mm.
which reminds me of a different trend, that I have an issue with, I have an opinion about. Making the child the center of your life. Like now,
Yeah.
me as a mom, I have 4 kids. I homeschool them. I'm already putting a lot of effort towards my children. Make sure that they eat healthy. Make sure that my house is clean. But uh, making my children the center of everything is draining. Is gonna drive all of us moms into insanity
Mm.
because
Resentment sometimes.
yeah, resentment because
Yeah.
we're given and we're not getting back, and we get um disappointed when they
Mm.
don't appreciate what we give them.
Yeah.
But little kids, they don't know. Like for example, if we like yesterday we had a fun day for the kids and it was
Yeah. We
so
had science
much
day at
work.
co-op. It was
Yes,
amazing. Alhamdulillah.
it was so much work. And then a lot of parents were asking the kids, "Did you have a good time?" And they were waiting for the positive feedback.
Mm.
Like, I don't wait for the positive feedback. I know
Mm-mm.
that it's,
You know what you did is good. You know what you did is valuable. So,
yes, maybe my son can tell me, no, it was not good just
yes,
because he was in front of him in a line for 2 seconds, even though he
yes,
had a blast in the whole 4 hours, right?
yes.
So you don't like wait for the feedback from a little child.
And
And
it's sponge, like it's already soaked, right? Like let's say he doesn't like it today. 4 weeks from now, he'll bring it up and he'll remember something positive from it, right?
the
Like,
point is not to make him just like
yeah,
happy. The point of
yes,
the whole thing is because it's beneficial for them. That's why we did
yes.
it. But I
Your
wanted
kids
to
don't
say
need dopamine surges. You need the dopamine surges. So you care for yourself.
that's the thing. Like our child is not the center because you
Yeah,
cannot make them happy all the time.
yeah,
Our like the main purpose is ibadah. the main purpose is serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a abd first,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you do good deeds, you do that ibadah, you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the things that He assigned you to, like being a mom or working a
Mhm.
position or being a doctor or being a homeschooling mom
Yeah.
or a teacher, right?
Yeah.
That's like
It's
the
hard, like it's something that I'm struggling with. Honestly, I mean, this is a raw podcast, but like sometimes I struggle with that. Like mom sometimes takes over just because some kids need you a lot more. Like some kids are clingier. Like for example, my 1-year-old has been a lot clingier lately, and I don't know why. He's also in a biting phase, so I don't know if he's teething. And kind of like my brain's like, okay, like I need to cook, and then he doesn't really let me. Or I try to put him in a learning ladder, but he doesn't want to either.
yeah,
And then I end up just disassociating. And then I end up presenting myself for disassociating. So sometimes I go through that cycle. And we know a lot of moms, we go through that cycle all the time.
100%. I agree.
Um, so that's really like that's that disassociating part when I'm like, I don't have like I'm getting by with the skin of my teeth right now. So
Yeah.
any hurdle is gonna cause me to shut down. Like that's personally what I'm struggling with lately.
Yeah.
So if you have any advice, please.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it because, as you said, like we all have this issue. And, like when I coach, especially because I coach homeschooling moms, so we have our
Mm.
kids around all the
Can you tell us
time.
more about your coaching program?
Yes, so it's called Muslim Homeschool app. It's an app that you can find on your app store, and it's the first app for Muslim homeschooling, and this is for parents.
MashaAllah.
So you'll find courses already recorded, and you find like a link to book a consultation coaching with me. I usually work with moms who want to start homeschooling or are already homeschooling, but they're struggling to figure it out, which includes, parenting, motherhood, and this is what we're talking about right now. So when you're saying that kids go through these phases when they're very clingy, we take time to shift. We take time to realize that, wait, yes, I'm struggling to cook, but this baby needs me. This baby is in a phase
Yeah,
where they're hurting because of their teeth,
yeah,
right? You know, if a baby's is teething, is growing teeth, they forget to do other things. Let's say your
yes,
baby was crawling and then they start teething, they cannot move on to the next step. They might even forget to crawl or start falling a lot
yeah.
because of their body working so hard and it's painful. They're
Mm,
growing, right?
that's
So
a
the
good way to
same,
think about it.
yeah. So they do need us at that point. It's like you work in a company and there is an emergency project that everybody has to work on. You're gonna put on pause all the other stuff that you're doing and focus on that project.
Yeah, 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 you're right.
It takes us a time to shift.
Yeah.
We resist that shift. We're like, no,
Mhm.
last week I was able to do all of these things. I want to be able
Yes,
to.
yes. Like
Right?
sometimes like, oh my God, I'm so productive. Like if I'm productive like this all the time, the things
Mhm.
that I can achieve, right? But it
Yeah,
also like you kind of have to also get yourself out of the rut that when you do have time, maybe that's the time for me to prepare for when I don't have time. Like if I can meal prep and freeze a couple meals so I don't feel that tension when I do need to cook, right? Or I can bake extra.
excellent
Uh,
idea.
yeah. Yeah. Or
You know,
get your kids to help you clean.
yes, 100%.
Okay? Kids have arms, they work. Be
That's why
creative.
there is a mess.
Exactly. Exactly. So like let's say like for example, like one of the tricks that I do, I save screen time. We do limited screen time, but I save it till the end of the day and I use it as incentive. Okay, it's time for us to wind down. If you want to sit and watch what you want, I need this place immaculate. So
Yeah.
no one pushes back because, you know?
Yes,
So
100%. And it
yeah.
just, even as an adult, you see this
Hmm.
advice everywhere as well.
Hmm.
Before you sit down, clean what you were doing, stop what you were
Yes.
doing. It's a
Yes.
tool, it's a skill that they need
Hmm.
to learn
Yeah.
eventually. And just an advice from a mom who has 4 kids,
MashaAllah, yeah.
it gets harder. So if you're just starting, if you have like one kid or even two,
Hmm.
just stop doing the most now because the mess gets harder, the demands gets bigger, and you're
Yeah.
not gonna be able to do it all, and it's gonna be a shock to you. So get them used to cleaning and like work. Again, it brings us to our maqam, subhanallah.
Yeah. It's so funny actually when I think about it. I remember before my first started becoming a toddler, or maybe like, yeah, the meals I would cook were a lot more elaborate.
Uh-huh.
Now I need to it's gonna be a stew that y'all are gonna eat for a full 3 days. Okay. And no
Yeah.
one's gonna argue with me because I can't make something that needs 3 side dishes anymore.
Yeah, see, you're making shifts, right?
Yeah.
Your maqam is shifting because you have two kids now,
Yeah.
and not just one. So the demands are added up. Um,
Even your mental capacity changes, right? Like your mental capacity for people's drama sometimes. You're like, I can't have empty conversations anymore. I just don't have like if I normally am struggling to be present with my kids, I don't really have enough to give to um
yeah. That,
love, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yes, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of like things to nurture ourselves. You know, we hear a lot of do more self-care. And to
Yeah.
be honest, I mean, myself, when I hear self-care, I'm like, oh, does that mean I have to
Go get a
go
pedicure.
somewhere? Yeah, and I have to like
Find
I have to
childcare,
house before I
find
leave.
money, and
Yeah, there's so many hurdles. But when you like sit down with yourself and you accept that you are in a different phase and like phases shift and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you in this specific maqam
yeah.
situation
Yes.
because first you are able to do it, right? And also making dua, you know, always make dua for Allah to make it easier on you, right? And to show
Yeah.
you to always do that, like just plain English, plain language.
Yeah.
Ask to make it easy. But when you let go of fighting to have things differently, like your old self, or like you imagined how they should be, or you're like you saw this lady on Instagram doing, the more you accept the reality, you find ways to
Yes.
nurture yourself. You get to know
Yeah.
yourself more. For example, I found out that I really, really like coaching, like women or
Mm,
kids, teaching,
mm,
basically, teaching
mm,
moms or teaching kids too.
mm,
Today, I was asked to teach a geography slash cooking class in a co-op for older kids, right? And I
mhm.
was asked like 2 days ago. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Because I know it's one of those things that I'm gonna do and it's gonna nurture me, not add a burden
Yeah.
on me and drain me. I am
Yeah.
happy to go and teach them, even though in a short notice, prepare. I'm excited for it, and my heart is subhanallah, right?
SubhanAllah, you say that because I was reflecting on that a few days ago. Like part of your maqam is I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us each with a special skill, right? And that could be anything, right? It doesn't necessarily mean like I can paint Leonardo da Vinci, right? Like skills
Yeah,
are come in every shape and size and color. And sometimes like you live your life searching for your maqam, right? Outside of the typical, okay, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I am an employee or I'm a student. Um, and somehow like you found your maqam as a coach, right?
yeah,
And you're known for that. Like people come to you for that. And recently, you had attended, I had hosted a Quranic storytelling session at the library.
I loved so
Uh,
much.
and that day, I think I was exhausted and it wasn't even that long, but I was like through the moon because I found my maqam. I
Yeah,
never felt so natural. And so kind of like I found my passion through Quranic storytelling for little kids using
yeah,
props. And a couple of months ago, I created these posters that are for sale on Etsy about the plants in the Quran and animals in the Quran. And it hit me that my whole life I've been striving to have a relationship with the Quran, right? And sometimes there was resentment because that just wasn't prioritized at certain parts of my life. And subhanAllah, like Allah put me in my maqam to learn His words with these little children, right? In a
Yeah.
very visual, beautiful, colorful way. I love colors, right? In a very colorful way. And it's just like, okay, like I'm there. Like Allah has brought me to the position where He wants me. Like you physically feel it. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And Salma, I had people who would talk to me like about doing classes or telling stories, and they will mention, oh, just like Salma does with her
Aw.
family time, and I'll have posters. And by the way,
Alhamdulillah.
Salma's posters are animals and plants from the Quran, and even
Yeah.
like the story time was about the animals with sorry,
Was Sulaiman alayhi salam in the end.
salam, yes, and the poster has all the animals. Inshallah, my kids love them because it brings the stories alive. So they
Yeah.
read them and they see them and then they remember, right?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, see, like you do, it's nurturing to you and nurturing to the whole
Yes.
community, mashallah.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. And like it creates I always think about like what we do at this age, it creates the neural pathways, right? Like you're building your child's muscles to identify words of Allah, right? So
Yeah.
like now when you're reading Quran to your kid and your kid hears Namla, his
Mhm.
brain is transported to the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam.
Yeah.
Because we were able to bring, like, the Quran is alive, like it's so engaging.
Yeah.
And I pray that all children can see it as something engaging rather than something that sometimes we treat as tedious.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Because that's one of my struggles growing up. My memories with the Quran were trying to memorize and recite in front of all the other students in my class.
Yes.
And I would get anxious and lose my words. And then the teacher would just count me as like not memorizing. Like it's like, I wouldn't get a good grade. So it was always
Yeah.
just to be graded. And I wish it was better. I wish it was better. But alhamdulillah, we can do this for our children now. Again,
Sorry.
thank
Sorry.
you.
Here you go, Baba.
This reminds me of Dr. Haifa Yunus because she did a podcast, I think last year, or year before, and she said something like, whatever Allah puts me, I do the best I can. And because she was asked, like, how come you are an OB, you are like in disaster relief, you're doing the halaqat in the local masjid, you're doing the Jannah Institute, inshallah. How can you do all of these things? And that was her answer, that I recognize where Allah puts me. He needs me here, so I'm just going to do it, to do my job with ihsan.
Yes.
And that actually reminded me of you. You always ask us ihsan, mashallah.
Allah يخليك. Alhamdulillah. You too, wallahi. Like, I go back to Science Day yesterday, and we had invited some dads to give two of the sessions, and I can tell you that even the dads were taken aback, right, at the adab that our children had. Sorry, this little guy's awake. Can you hear me well?
Still sleeping. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. And I always reflect, and I always tell my husband this, like, I don't care where we're going, I cannot leave this co-op because we have literally combined a group of overachieving, incredible mothers. And we've become a family. Alhamdulillah.
Definitely
And
a family.
that's good to you. Alhamdulillah.
Oh, which is like a lot, Anna. But yeah, it's definitely, it feels like a family and better than a family, even closer, mashallah. And like, to everybody who's listening, is just nurturing yourself is very, very crucial. That's what it's called, self-care. Some people think self-care and they're like being selfish, but you pour into yourself, you're gonna be able to pour into others, and the most importantly, you'll have clarity on what you're worth, like what's your time and your energy is worth. Is it to do, I don't know, like park trips or field trips or whatever all the time? Is it worth it for your family, or just because somebody did it, so you're gonna do it? Is it worth it to like some activity that you like to do, or like even talking to some group of friends that are not really helping you, right? That it's not helping you be your best self. It's not helping you
Yeah.
Allah Ta'ala the best way you can. So when you nurture yourself with things like um just take a deep breath and see, try different things. I tried painting, I tried walks, I tried a lot of different things. And subhanallah, with that, Allah will show you what is the thing that you will enjoy to do at this point. Like
Yes.
it's not again something that you're gonna have to do for the rest of your life. But
Yes.
do it now.
Yes. Yeah. You know, one way, like honestly, so far one of the best ways of self-care is to ask Allah for a tribe, that shares your values. I think that is priceless.
Yeah.
It's an outlet. Like if your group of friends are not, like, how many times, Meriem, in our group do we correct each other or advise each other, or like there's no ego between us, you know? Like, yes, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have spoken this way. I have done this, I have done that. And it's room for growth.
Yeah.
Right? There's no like haraj between us. And I think that's so special. And if you don't have that, make dua. I didn't have that until very, very recently. And I made so much dua that Allah give me my tribe. And my maqam right now is that my 1-year-old is struggling. So, Meriem, any closing thoughts?
Let's wrap it up. I
Mhm.
enjoyed this conversation. I hope that everybody who's listening enjoyed it as
Yes.
well. If you want to learn more about Salmah's posters and resources, please visit tomorrowsharvest.com. Right?
Search Tomorrow's Harvest on Etsy, but on Instagram, Tomorrow's Harvest
Okay.
__ no, Tomorrow's _ harvest. We'll leave it in the description box, inshallah.
Inshallah. And if you need any help with learning about homeschooling or motherhood and
Yes.
positive
She's
parenting,
my
please
own coach.
check.
She's my parenting coach, if you haven't noticed.
Please
So yeah,
check
so
out the
next week we will talk about how Ramadan looks through our eyes. Inshallah. Oh, jazakumullah
app.
khairan. Assalamu alaikum. Imagine a field so open and bright, flowers swaying in golden light. Your little one watches, eyes full of wonder, as a tiny bee bounces from one petal to another. His curious mind begins to hear.
وأوحى ربك إلى النحل أن اتخذي من الجبال بيوتا ومن الشجر ومما يعرشون.
Welcome to Tomorrow's Harvest, where the world around us meets the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are more than just posters. They are windows into the wonders of His creation. Are you ready to ponder with your little one?